context. I would certainly say that was the case.
Currently, if a show cause notice is issued by CASA, because it's not your role that's not your statutory function, are you made aware of a show cause notice being issued? In a formal sense and in an informal sense? What are the protocols?
In a formal sense, there's no explicit provision for exchange of that information, Senator. What happens on a more informal basis is there are several circumstances where CASA as a regulator may be looking at a particular operator and we may be investigating a particular event. And so that those two things, while being independent and us maintaining our no blame role, so that they can not interfere with each other, we try and inform each other within the limitations of our legislation about what's going on. It really has to be done on a case-by-case basis. We don't want to interfere with legal responsibilities, but it's helpful for me to understand when those cases where we're investigating something where regulatory action is imminent.
So it's not unreasonable if a show cause notice is issued by CASA, from your point of view, for the ATSB to at least be aware of that, and then you can weigh up the relevance of that show cause notice in the context of anything that ATSB may or may not be investigating.
It's relevant or potentially relevant for a number of reasons, Senator, one of which is it is going to have, if you like, a chilling effect on our capacity to interview those involved. Even though they recognise that we have a responsibility to protect any information that's given to us, if they're in parallel under regulatory attention, that may have placed some limits on the amount of cooperation we're likely to get from individuals.
Sure. Just wanted to go to, Chair, I've got two other issues. One I might need a moment to speak to my office about because I've received some information which may or may not need to go in camera to put to the ATSB in relation to someone who's expressed some concerns, not about the ATSB but about a particular operational matter. Can I just go to the issue that Senator O'Brien referred to, and that relates to the wind shear incident. I guess what I'm trying to establish is what are the triggers for a higher level investigation. I appreciate that the ATSB is now looking at that incident at a higher level, but initially the ATSB made a decision not to investigate it further on the basis of the information provided to you. That's
correct.
A fair summary. That information consisted of a report from the pilot.
A report from the operator, which we understand was pretty much the verbatim report of the pilot.
Okay. And did that report indicate, obviously it would have indicated that there was a wind shear incident, but did it also indicate the rate of climb in that report?
The initial report, as I recall, Senator, although I have to confirm this, didn't go to rate of climb, but we made inquiries of the operator as to rate of climb.
And were those inquiries on the basis of looking at the flight data recorder?
On the basis of asking the operator what they had in terms of the flight data recorder.
Given that you're now investigating this, are you able to comment further along with respect to this? Can you advise whether you were notified as to the rate of climb at that time?
At the time of the initial report. As I say, I have to. My recollection is no, but I'll confirm whether or not that's the case. I prefer to take that on notice to be absolutely sure.
No, I understand that. But further to Senator Heffernan and Senator O'Brien's line of questioning of this, if the rate, an A320, the normal rate of climb is 2,000 to 2,500 feet a minute.
Mm-hmm.
If the rate of climb was about 10% of that, would that raise concerns from your point of view for a more robust investigation?
It would take us to the point where we would be seeking further information, Senator, to establish significance. This is somewhat hypothetical. The number, as we understand it, was somewhat higher than the one you're quoting, and we will make that public in whatever we do in terms of our current investigation. There will always be a question as to what's the trigger point for an investigation. Even if we had a much more generous resourcing than we currently have, there's always going to be a set of things that we would look at and say, we will record that in our occurrence database, but we won't actually formally investigate.
Sure. It's just that the trigger for the investigation, I think, was when Captain Woodward, who's in the gallery today, said that he raised concerns about it. Was that the trigger for a further investigation, that you'll give more information that came to light?
The trigger, Senator, was in this forum. We heard information that cast a different light on the occurrence to what was available to us. And so we're establishing more clearly the facts.
Sure.
Through examining the flight data recorder and other information, through interviewing the pilots and so on.
And I emphasise that this is not a criticism of the ATSB. I'm just trying to work out the protocols, whether the requirements for the information that's provided to you are adequate for the ATSB to be able to do their job properly.
At this stage, Senator, we remain confident that the information that's provided to us by operators, which is essentially based on internal reporting systems, is reliable. The reason that we wanted to take a closer look at this was we heard in this place a view of the event that was at odds with what had been reported to us. So we're establishing, to the best of our ability, what the facts are.
Okay. So does that mean that in relation to wind shear incidents, would it be appropriate for any future wind shear incidents to try and establish to what extent the rate of climb was compromised as part of that incident? As to the level of investigation that the ATSB will carry out?
Yes, but perhaps I should be clear, Senator. In our decision to investigate, we made inquiries as to rate of climb and formed a view based on that information. We, as I say, received a different view of it in this forum, and that's why we went.
All right. And what I'm trying to establish, and I won't labour this point because I do want to go on camera in a moment to Chair. When you received information from the rate of climb, was that verified by flight data recorder information, or was it on the basis of representations made to you?
It was on the basis of the operator's advice to us of the information they had established through their examination of, I think, the quick access recorder of the aircraft.
Okay.
So yes, we did rely on that information.
Which would give you rates of climb.
Yes, sir.
Would that still exist, those records, or they've got a termination period?
There is a period past which the material is overwritten, but this was well within those parameters.
So if you want to go back and have a look for yourself, would you be able to?
Yes, we are.
All right, so perhaps the best thing, Mr Dolan, is fair to say you're now looking at this matter and that there will be a report prepared in relation to this matter or not? Has it got to the stage where there will be some formal
There will be some formal publication of what we have discovered as a result of our investigation, Senator.
And who knows, this committee may want to ask some more questions on that.
So you want to go into camera?
Yes, I do, Chair.
Could I just ask one question before we do? This is on fatigue, and this may not be in your bailiwick, but on trains we took a long time to get firemen off railway engines that didn't have a fire, so they're single crewed now. And one of the safety devices for a train driver is he has to push a button every minute or two, or the train will pull up.
Yes, Senator.
One of the scary things to come to terms with in fatigue is if someone at the wheel goes to sleep, and if there are two people, if both of them go to sleep, it would be a pretty scary experience if anyone knew about it. Hard to prove. Do you think as an extra precaution, given all the information we've received about the capacity of the human body to tolerate different fatigue levels and loads, to have a device that sent off a warning if you didn't push it every so often in the cabin of the aircrew, of the pilot area, referring it back to the cabin crew or something? So if the alarm went off, you know everyone's gone to sleep?
There's an interesting balance there, Senator. It's not an intervention I would necessarily see as ideal, in that flight crew are normally being asked to do a whole range of things, the level of work they're being required to do. This might just end up being an additional distraction rather than an additional defence against fatigue in the system.
But if there was the slightest evidence of an event where cabin crew, where pilots may have snoozed off, would that cause you to rethink that?
What I can say, Senator, is we are always, when we do our investigations, alert to the risks of fatigue, and we go to considerable efforts to establish, by a range of mechanisms, whether or not we think fatigue might have been a relevant consideration. We're not at the point where we have an evidence set that would lead us to the view that there is a problem with that nodding off problem that would lead us to make a recommendation about it.
Yep. Okay. Well, if I could just advise the gallery that we want to clear the room for 10 minutes perhaps, because we want to go into camera, and we'll proceed to these hearings in camera.